Veracity Exchange Television.
V.E.T.V. Hosted by none other than Brilliance.
Why you so sad, ho? Why you so sad? I got cash all day. These bitches mad, hoes sad all day.
Hollywood Spryte, a.k.a. Brilliance.
Hey, what up, world, man? It's your dog, Hollywood Spryte, a.k.a. Spryte Official, a.k.a. Brilliance. And y'all now tuned into V.E.T.V. You know what I'm saying? Today we got a special guest in the building, man. One of the best prison storytellers, hands down. And without further ado, y'all give it up for my dog, 16 in life.
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, Spryte, I appreciate you, man, for having me on your show.
Man, I wouldn't have it no other way, man. So, hey, how life been treating you, man? What's going on with you? How life treating you?
Life is fair. You know, I'm just out here chilling, man. I have no complaints. Like I said, I did 24 years straight in prison. So, you know, anytime I'm free, there's no complaints from me.
Yeah, I understand that, man. How I feel to be setting the YouTube game on fire, man. I mean, you getting a lot of subscribers, man. How that feel?
Oh, that's definitely a blessing that I didn't foresee. You know, I just happened to go on YouTube and tell some stories. I normally rap, man, and the producer at the studio that I go to, he had caught COVID, and so I had 130 subscribers, and I just, I wanted to think like, well, what could I do in order to keep my subscribers coming? And by that time I'd been out maybe a year and a half, and I realized that everybody seemed pretty interested in my stories about going to prison. They wanted to know what was it like in prison and doing all that type of stuff. So I just started telling some stories, until hopefully my producer had got better. And I looked up one day and it just happened to take off. So like I say, this is just a blessing that I didn't plan for or expect. So it definitely feels good.
And how long you been on YouTube?
Probably about not even a year. Not even a year.
Man, so you started off with 135 subscribers, and now you're like 40,000.
Yes, sir. Well, I you know what? Last night I just hit the 43,000 mark. So,
man,
yeah. I'm a little proud of myself because YouTube say it takes about a year to get 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers. So,
yes, sir.
About a year or two to get 1,000 subscribers. So, yeah, I'm definitely feel blessed.
Right, man. And like I said, I seen last night, man, you had an interview with Cece, and Cece, she killing the game right now. And that was a dope interview. Y'all got part 1 out. When you plan on dropping part 2?
Oh, well, I'm gonna drop part 2 today, right after this interview. And Cece is funny, she's hilarious, and she gives a real raw perspective of what it was like doing time in the women's jail and the women's prison and all that stuff. So I'm definitely a fan. I check her out. She's very entertaining.
Yeah, man, I was glad to see both of y'all. I'm a fan of both of y'all. I know she just really hopped on the scene. I know she got the boxing channel, but I wasn't really, I never seen the boxing channel. I just found out about that. But, man, it was good to see both of y'all, man. So let's get into it. Man, where you from and how was life growing up?
I'm from a small city called Banky, California, and it's real small, well, it's expanded a little bit now, but when I grew up, I was born in 1971. We had one McDonald's, one high school, that type of thing. Everybody knew everybody growing up. The majority of the women and men who I graduated with in the class of 1989, we started going to school together in Head Start, first grade. So, it was the whole town had a family oriented feel. So it was real cool and fun.
Okay. So, what was that like, man? 70, I was born in 83. But what was that like in the 70s, man? Can you take me back to the 70s? What was that like?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man, it definitely was fun. Like I say, I'm from a small town, so everybody knew everybody. We was real respectful. How you doing, Mr. and Mrs. All the black people seemed to speak to each other then.
Right.
It was definitely different, man. It was, especially in the early 70s when I was young. And even in the 80s, you could have a fist fight with an individual if that's what it came to. And everybody would go home. Everybody would pop up tomorrow, the next day alive, man. It was in just so many different aspects than it is today. Respect was a big thing back then. Now it seems like being disrespectful is a big thing nowadays. So I could just go on and on and on about how the 70s was as opposed to, present day and age, man.
Right. I can dig that because, You know, just back in, you know, in the 80s. I mean, even in the 90s, I remember, man, me and all my homeboys got in a fight, man. We fought, and then we went outside, played basketball and football the very next day. You know what I'm saying? Like it never happened. You know?
Right. Yep.
So, you got any brothers or sisters? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have one older brother. He's still out in Montana right now. I have 3 older sisters who are just on my father's side. Before my father met my mother, he was married to some other lady. And so they stayed in Baltimore, Maryland. And I've seen them a couple of times when we would go back to, Baltimore in the summer and stuff. But I probably haven't seen them since I was about 16 or 17. And, I probably wouldn't even recognize them if they walked past me. So
what type of things were you into as a child, man?
As a child, I just loved to play, man. Practical jokes. I love to read, play basketball, just that type of stuff. A little on the wild side, one of them cats that would climb up on the roof and jump off the roof.
Right.
Rode motorcycles. I'd hop off the motorcycle, the dirt bike while my brother was driving. I'd hop off in the field. Just, I was always, on some stuntman type stuff, I guess,
Right. So what about school, academically? What type of student were you in school?
Oh, in school, man, I was an A and B student, man, until I would say probably about high school. Then I got a little bored with school and wasn't paying attention as much, and eventually ended up going to a continuation school, and hit the block, started hanging out and that type of stuff. But initially, I was a good student.
Okay. I also seen in an interview you stated your mom was a big influence on you graduating. I ended up going to a trade school as well. And that was one of the reasons I didn't drop out. What was it that she said, or how was it that she convinced you to finish school?
Okay. Well, like I said, I think around, it was my senior year in high school. The counselor called me in. My credits, I didn't have enough credits, to continue in high school and graduate. So, in the continuation, I don't know about out there, but in California, you can work at your own pace. So in order for me to graduate, I had to go to the continuation school. So I went to the continuation school, but when I got there, it was worse. A lot of my other homies was there, so we in the class, we rapping, we talking stuff. We not doing, we not getting the work done. So my brother, who was a year older than me, he'd already, my brother had been working since he was 16. We was the exact opposites. And so he had took some type of examination where he dropped out early. He graduated. And by that time, he was already the manager of Taco Bell. So he graduated early and he was doing this thing. So my mom was basically just like, oh, well, I didn't get to see him graduate since he, he took that exam. And then it doesn't look like you're going to graduate. So she's like, she was disappointed. So that right there motivated me to start working real hard in school and finish up. And I probably only had like 2 or 3 months left. And the teachers didn't think that I could make up that many credits that I needed to make up in that amount of time. And so it was hard, man. I mean, I was working to the very last day we had to turn work in. And actually I had to throw some books out the window, and have my mom drive me up there when the school was closed and pick the books up and go do the work. Cause I still had, I had some more credits I had to turn in by that next day. And I worked all the way to like 4 a.m. and doing all the work. And I finally got it done, turned it all in, and I was able to graduate. So my mom, I'm very thankful for her today, because had she not, motivated me in that way, I wouldn't have my high school, diploma.
Man, that's dedication. So you say you threw the books out the window just to go back and pick them up.
Right. Because we couldn't take the books home. So the continuation school was one of them big old double wide trailers or something.
Right.
It set off in a little field. So I opened up the window, threw the books out there in the field, and had her come up there and drive me up there later, and so I could pick the books up.
Man, that's dope, man. That's dope. So what age was it that you tapped into the streets? You know what I'm saying? What age did you jump off the porch?
Oh man, I would probably say about 14, 15 years old, and it's crazy that you asked the question now, because back then we don't really look at it like, jumping off the porch. We look at it like we just out hanging with our homies,
Right.
And so I'm just out there, in the hood hanging with the homies, and I look up by that time I'd already been selling a little weed, but then I see my homies one day, they selling some crack. I'm like, man, what is this stuff? And, oh man, we can make money getting this stuff. And, next thing you know, you caught up, without even really realizing.
Right. Do you remember your first day on the block hustling? And if so, what was that moment like?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, not necessarily maybe my first day per se, but I mean, the first times, I was out there I had a homie by the name of Baby Drew, and then also my homie Scotty Ware, rest in peace. I think him and my cousin James probably was the first ones that I saw with crack, but now me and my homie K-Love, we were the first ones probably to hit the block together and start selling it together and stuff. When I first started, me and him, we was, and back then, man, the smokers had game, man, and they would work me out of my stuff, man. Hey, man, I got somebody around the corner that want to spend 100. Just give me 2 rocks and let me take them over here and let them test it. We went through that for a whole lot till we realized, they were just running game on it. So that was probably some of the first times, man. Shout out to my homie K-Love, man, and I'm so proud of him now. He didn't change his whole life around, and this dude is the the executive of some type of psychiatric hospital or something.
Man.
And so it's just stuff like that, man, that makes me proud of certain individuals. But yeah, so that's what it was like, though. Out there on the block, man, just getting work, trying to figure it out.
Right, man. So I mean, and this for the people, because most people will say, man, it seemed like, being from a small town, coming from a pretty good background, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how did you end up leading into, getting into, a life of trouble?
Like I say, once again, I hopped in the streets and was in the streets before I even actually knew it. It just, going to the park, where we played basketball at, and, some of my homies up there wasn't as fortunate as I was. And like I said, they out there, they doing this, they doing that, and just running with the crowds, trying to fit in, trying to fit in. I might have $20 in my pocket, and I got the big homie who would give me $40 worth of dope for my $20 cash. So I'll take that, flip that, hey, that's a quick 40. Let me try that again. And just like I say, next thing we into it. And maybe around 84, 85, in California, or at least in the town that I grew up in, that's when the Crips and Bloods also hit the scene. So slowly but surely, you had different Crips and different Bloods migrating from LA. Because I'm like probably about an hour and 45 minutes from LA. So that, east of LA, they migrating, and slowly but surely the culture started coming to my city, where cats from LA bringing it out there, or some of my older homeboys going to, juvenile halls, whatever type of, trade schools, bumping into these guys, bringing the culture back. And so, next thing, some of those guys are out there in our hood, and things happen, and you find yourself, in a situation. And like I say too, back then, I didn't look at as being in a gang per se, because all these dudes I had been knowing all my life. So, if something happened to one of them, for some of us, it's going to be automatic to ride and try to get some get back, So that's how it, that's for, at least for me, that's how it took place.
Okay. I also understand, in the interview I seen, you said you was shot. You got shot like after high school. Can you explain that situation or what happened?
Yeah. I was 17, and so I'm out there on the block one night selling some drugs, and some white guys come through, and they asked did anybody have any drugs? Now I'm around the corner from where we normally sell drugs. We used to call it shortstop, and basically just stopping the customers before they get to where everybody is normally at,
Right.
And I'm out there with my homie Dante and a couple of other smokers, And so a car pulls up, and I go and eventually make my way to the car, because initially, how the smokers be running to the car trying to be part of the transaction, so they can get a little piece of drug or whatever. So anyway, I jump in the car. They tell me to get in, and I'm thinking they're telling me to get in because there's so many people at the car. So I hop in the front seat, and back in these days, they was in one of them older cars that had a big, giant, long front seat.
Right.
So I hop in the front seat, and seconds later, I hear a pow, and I realized later on when I jump out the car that I'm shot. But I think, like I say, I think they had planned on taking me around the corner and trying to rob me. Right. And I think that when I sat in the car, the dude had the gun on the seat, and I sat on it, and he was trying to pull it up from under me because he shot me. He shot me in the ass. So if he was trying to shoot me, I think he would have shot me in the side because I'm sitting right next to him. So I think it was an accidental shooting, but then they just went ahead and proceeded with the robbery right there.
Right. And also for the people, you said you didn't get medical treatment right away. You stayed on the block hustling.
Oh yeah, I had a couple rocks left in my hand, man, and because like I say, when I jumped in the car, they wanted $40 worth of dope, so I already took that out my hand. So when I got out of the car, I failed to mention in this story here, the dude got out the car too, and I looked up. The white dude, he was pointing the gun in my face, telling me give it here. So I threw him, the sack of dope that I had. So when he pulled off, I realized I still had the two $20 rocks in my hands. So yeah, I had to go ahead and get that out the way, man. So a car came through a few minutes later. I made the sale, and went around the corner to my cousin's house, and she called my other cousin Monica, and they took me to the hospital.
Right, man. So, man, we watch movies and shit all the time, right? When people get shot in the ass, and even though it's a serious situation, a lot of times people find it comical, right? So what was that like going in the hospital, man? Was they serious, or was they busting jokes, man?
Oh no, they was up in there clowning because the wound wasn't super serious.
Right.
It had shot me. I was shot in the fleshy part, and they never even actually removed the bullet. They just left it where it was. Okay. And it was crazy because my homeboy Scotty Ware, who I mentioned a little bit earlier in this interview, he had got shot several months before in the ass, and they left the bullet in his, they left his bullet in too. So yeah, when I'm in there,
right,
when I finally get wheeled into the hospital, to the hospital room, I'm on the gurney. They in there cracking jokes like this looks like this is a real pain in the ass tonight, and all that whole type of stuff, And like I say, so me, I'm a good natured dude, and so I was laughing and stuff, just happy to be alive, basically, But yeah, so it was all good though.
How long did it take for you to jump back into the streets after that situation?
Oh, I never left the streets. The only thing that only thing that prevented me from getting back in the streets immediately was the bullet wound, and so I was, I never really left the street. I just waited till it healed up, and once I was able to walk again, I was right back out there on the block now. But in between the time of me being able to walk, because I had some more dope left. I had more dope left, so I gave it to my homeboy Early, who was probably about 16 at the time, to go sell my dope. Now, unbeknownst to me, Early had started, smoking drugs, or at least smoking primos, which out in California, we used to call a primo weed mixed up with crushed up crack. He had started smoking, and so long story short, he ended up killing one of our homegirls' mother. I think she was smoking drugs, and she owed him some money. Okay. And so he ended up jumping in the car with her and shooting her. And it's crazy. Just 2 nights ago, I ran across the lady's daughter, because like I said, we all went to school together. And so she was probably about 2 or 3 years younger than me. She probably was Early's age. And I ran across her about 2 nights ago. Her name is Becky. Ran across her. And I would like to say good thing on her part. When my homie Early was getting ready to go to the parole board, maybe about 5 or 6 years, she wrote a letter to the parole board saying that she had forgave him and all this old type of stuff. And they ended up letting him out. He caught life for that situation, but he got out and did some dumb stuff, and he right back in jail again. But yeah, so it's crazy though. It was crazy.
The guys that robbed you, ever ran into those guys again, or?
Oh yeah, I had to get my get back, man. So that's one, like I say about Bannon, that's one good thing about it being so small. And these were some white dudes, I don't know if I mentioned that, these were some white dudes.
Right.
So, I got to keep it real, man. Excuse me. I believe everybody grew up with stereotypes,
Right.
And so one thing we believed, was 2 things I believed about white boys back then, or white people. They can't play basketball, which I found out that to be wrong later on too. And they can't fight, which I found out that to be later wrong. But like I say, when you're young, you believe certain things about other people that may not be true.
Right.
And so when the white dudes pulled up, of course, I had no fear of them at all, because they was white. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, they end up popping on me. But then when I was able to hit the block, I was asking around like, hey, man, I remember, I can't remember the day, but back then I knew the car and all that old type of stuff. And so one of my older homeboys who smoked drugs, he happened to know exactly where they stayed at. And so he told me. So long story short, I was getting ready to go to Montana. My cousins that came down, they stayed in Montana. I was getting ready to go back with them. And so I had sold my gun and a few other things, my jacket, to get some drugs to take out to Montana. So, but I just didn't feel right, knowing where these dudes lived and not getting no get back. So I was at my homie's house, and he had a big old cinder block wall behind his house. So we used to knock some of the bricks down. So I took a brick and busted it up and got a big old, big size brick that fit in my hand, and had him drive me up there in my mom's car. I walked down into the apartments, knocked on the door, and the white dude was coming across from another apartment. And so I walked up on him with my head down, and I asked him if he knew somebody. I'd made some name up at the time or whatever. And he said no. But when he looked up, I said, "Hey, yeah, man, get us to that motherfucker who shot me." Because I when I seen him, he wasn't the one sitting right next to me that shot me.
Right.
But he was the driver in the car.
He was the driver,
So
right.
I slapped him in the head with the brick, and he curled up, and I hopped up on him with a couple of punches. Bing, 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 bing. I get on him real heavy, until he started hollering. Then I take off running, man, and ran back up the little road that the apartment was on, and hopped in the car, and we got on, But so yeah, I had to feel I had to do a little something. I just wouldn't have felt right,
Right.
Because by that time, like I say, by that time I'm 17, damn near 18, and I'm deeply entrenched in the gang culture,
Right,
and the California gang culture is, you get back ASAP, or at least as soon as possible. You know what I'm saying? And so just like now I realize that, when we caught up in that gang stuff, we really just following. We got older homies telling us, yeah, man, do this, man, do that. Don't never let a person do this. And then when they get in that same situation themselves, they don't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, but when you're young, you're impressionable, especially if you want to fit in, because I didn't really mention me and my older brother. Like I say, we were the exact opposites. So my brother, us growing up, we never got along super swell. You know what I'm saying? And so, all the homies in the hood was like my family and stuff, So yeah,
right. Yeah, I had to learn that too, man. When I was young, man, like I said, the OGs, man, I thought that was solid. You know what I'm saying? When they said something, I thought it was stamped. Then you see when the pressure get applied to them, man, sometimes they turn the other cheek. You know what I'm saying? And you like, man, you told me to, go for broke, but then you turn the other cheek.
Most definitely, man. I have a situation like that where, it was this homie that we grew up with. We all respected him because he was funny and stuff. He was really just funny, more of a character than for his fighting and all that. But he would fight, But he ended up testifying against one of his road dog, one of our other homies, actually my next door neighbor, and ended up getting him the death penalty. And so, you have dudes to talk that talk until they get caught in a situation. And like you say, we think it's stamped, but no, it's we sometimes find out the hard way.
But let's get to Montana, man. How you end up in Montana? You know what I'm saying? And what was that environment like?
Well, like I was saying, I had some cousins who lived out there, and how my cousins lived out there, I had an uncle, and he ended up getting a football scholarship out there. And once he got the scholarship out there, he ended up staying in Montana. Now, his sister, which is my aunt, and she ended up moving out there, and I like to say rest in peace to Aunt Shirley. She just passed away a couple of weeks ago, but she moved out there. And so she had some sons and cousins, my cousins around my age, and we would see each other periodically. And then at one point in time, they had moved to California, but at this point in time, they was back in Montana. So anyway, they came to California for Thanksgiving, at my grandmother's house. We used to try to have Thanksgiving at my grandmother's house because my mother has 5 brothers and sisters. It's three girls, three boys originally. Okay. And so, we'd all meet at my grandma's house for Thanksgiving. And so, of course, after they come down and they're like, well, chill, you ain't doing nothing, man. Why don't you slide back to Montana with us and come check it out? It's cool. And like I say, I wasn't doing nothing. I'm running around in the hood. I just got shot. And so I ended up going to Montana with them, and I liked it. And I just ended up staying out there.
Right. So what was like the environment like in Montana? What's the description of Montana? I don't know nothing about Montana. I mean, what is that coming from where you came from to Montana? What was the biggest difference?
The biggest difference was the snow. Okay. I went out there in December, man. A couple of days before Christmas, man. And it was, I forget the exact degrees now, but man, it was like something like, I don't know, 13, 14 below zero,
Damn.
Snow all over the place, big old giant icicles hanging off the roof. I mean, like the icicles is hanging from the roof all the way down, probably past to my chest or something. Just big old giant icicles. It was cold as hell out there,
Right.
And that was the first noticeable difference, And then so trying to drive on the snow and all that old type of stuff, but once the snow melted and all that type of stuff, it was cool, because I think it's always cool when individuals go to different cities and stuff or whatever, because it's new girls, it's a new atmosphere,
right,
and all that type of stuff. And then Montana doesn't have a big black population, but
right. That's what I was gonna ask you. Right.
Yeah, they're the same way my uncle got out there on a football scholarship. You had some blacks out there because they had two major colleges out there, and so you had a lot of blacks out there who had got out there on scholarships as well, and then some of them ended up staying. So the black population at the time was enough to feel comfortable. There was enough blacks out there. They had a black club and all type of stuff. Well, I wouldn't say a black club, but they had a club where a lot of blacks would attend. The DJ was black, and so it was definitely enough blacks out there to feel comfortable. Then they had some pimps out there from Milwaukee, Chicago, Rockford, Illinois, and stuff, So eventually, I ended up meeting all these individuals and we hanging out. So it was cool, man. It was real cool out there. I definitely enjoyed it.
I know you. I heard you speak about like the pimp stories, and well, first before we get to the pimp stories, man, what was like the drug of choice in Montana? You know what I mean? What was the drug of choice in Montana?
Well, at this time, like I say, it's 1989, and so the drug of choice out there was powdered cocaine, and probably for the most part because a lot of dudes out there didn't know how to rock it up, So yeah, for the most part it was powdered cocaine. A lot of people snorting, some people smoking it, from time to time I would rock some up for them, but you had a lot of people out there shooting it too, and so yeah, that was a drug of choice.
So what was the money difference? You know what I'm saying? I heard you speak on that for the people, man. Let them know what the money difference looked like.
Man, the money is off the chain, man. I had $1 million spot, was too young to really recognize and take full advantage of it, man. But see out there, an ounce of powdered cocaine at the time in California was going for maybe $500-600. Out there, you could get literally $2,000 for it. I mean, the average price out there was anywhere between 14 and 16, depending on who had it and the availability of it. And see, that's the bad thing the good thing about it, Montana, is it's in the middle of nowhere, in terms of drugs being brought there. So
right.
you could charge big giant prices. And so it was definitely and that's wholesale, in the event you broke the drugs down and sold them, like that in smaller quantities, you really, really make a killing. So it was extremely lucrative out there.
Okay, man. And you spoke on the pimps, man. You got any? Because you one of the great storytellers, man. I count on people like you and Banky, man, to give me a story. You got any pimp stories you can share?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you one about my boy Fox, man. Fox was a dude from Georgia. I can't exactly remember if he was from Macon or where. He wasn't from Atlanta, Macon, or one of them cities outside of Atlanta. And at the time, Fox was probably about 35 years old, and the thing about Fox that was real funny and hilarious to me, the dude dressed like Pops from the Wayne's show.
Right.
That show is. He'd be in these tight ass polyester suits and these these platinum pants, these plaid pants and stuff. Like I say, the dude dressed like he was in the 70s, man. And he had this Georgia accent. Yo, yeah, man, chill, man. What's going on, man? Yeah, yeah. And it's really hard to put my finger on how me and this dude even started hanging around, man. But the dude was hilarious, man. And so one day, let me set the scene for you now.
Okay.
Fox was a pimp, but he was also about selling drugs and getting his money and all that. And he used drugs too. So there used to be a dyke broad out there by the name of Stella. And right. Stella had a gang of bad broads out there, and now so I'm seeing Fox and Stella, they riding around, hanging out and kicking it and stuff. They was probably hustling because Stella sold dope too. So, but at some point in time, for whatever reason, they fell out, So now I'm in an arcade bar. The arcade bar is basically like a underworld spot where all the pimps and players and everybody hung out, and stuff. And And so I'm in there one night shooting dice with Stella. Now me and Stella, we playing, we shooting dice. Now Stella is probably winning about $95, $75, somewhere up in there, which wasn't nothing back then, but it's the way that she's winning the money. She's winning. She's only betting $5 a shot. She won't bet on her point. She won't bet on shit. So every time she catch a point, she might hit 6, 7 licks in a row. Soon as I catch a point, I fall right off. And so I'm frustrated and then she won't bet on the point. She kept saying, no, I'm a lucky bitch. I don't bet on my point. I don't bet on no points, just straight bet. And so, like I say, she whooping me at $5 a point. So at some time, my partner Fox, he slide up in there. He come back there, he see us gambling or whatever. He post up for a minute. Then he asked me, yeah, chill, man. Yeah. What's going on, man? Yeah, oh yeah. And I said, oh, man, I'm just down there shooting dice trying to get my money back, man. He said, okay, yeah, is that right, Chill? And he always put his hand on his face. He said, yeah, man, well, go ahead, man, yo. And so now we on our knees gambling.
Right.
And he's standing up. So he's steady watching us. And, she doing the same thing. She steady's licking me, steady taking my little $5 and won't bet on the point. So all of a sudden he say, yo, Stella. And she say, what, Fox? She say, Stella. And she look up. She say, Fox say, surrender that money. And she say, what? She said, bitch, I said surrender that money. And he slapped the dog shit out of her,
Damn.
Before he slapped her, he reached in. He had after he slapped her, then he reached into his he had like a trench coat on or something, and pulled out a big old giant knife. He said, bitch, I said surrender it. So then she dropped all the money at his feet. Then he told her, now kiss my feet. I said, kiss him. So she said, come on, Fox. She said, bitch, kiss him. And he raised the knife up like he was going to stab her. So she stood halfway up to act like she was going to kiss his feet. And she took off running and tore her ass out the back door. I guess kissing his feet was a little bit too much for her, But yeah, Fox, man, and then the dude was a cold pickpocket too, And so I got a lot of stories how me and him would be hanging out and he'd pick somebody's pocket and, he'd be talking and giving me these funny sayings and all that. Yeah, he was a real hilarious character, man. And so if y'all get a chance, go to my page and check my stories out, man. That's 16, the number 16 DA life. I got some stories about Fox. I got some stories about being in prison and incarcerated for 24 years. And but yeah, Fox, he's definitely one of my fan favorites. He was a funny individual.
At any point in time, did you get arrested or raided or anything like that in Montana?
Yeah, well, a couple of times out there, I got arrested for selling dope in Montana. Man, one time I got arrested for I'm at my homeboy's house, a partner of mine out there, man, and my motherfucking bad luck, his house get raided while I'm up in there selling dope, and so I get gaffled up for that. I flush some dope down the toilet, but they claim they get it out the toilet. Because out there, like I said, we'd sell powder cocaine, and it would be in these little things that they would call spindles. Okay. So they claim that, they got it out the toilet. They sent it to the lab. It came back positive for cocaine. So about 3 or 4 months later, they arrest me, throw me on. So I bail out. So now I'm waiting to go to get the situation taken care of in court. So now before all that can happen, they raid my house as well. So I ended up going to court, and they ended up giving me a sentence out there with some. A suspended sentence basically made me go do 60 days in the county jail. And so all that is going on. And then, like I say, the bad thing about Montana is there's really nobody to buy a mass quantity of drugs from. So at some point in time, I run out of dope. So I slide back to California to get some more dope. And I go to a house party and get into a shootout at a house party with some bloods. And I go on the run, so that's how all that started.
So what happened at the, I guess at the house party, with the shootout, and then can you explain the situation of, being on the run?
Well, the house party was just basically, basically some California gangbang type stuff. In a sense, I somewhat knew the individual who I got into it with, and I'm writing a book. It's coming along real slow, but it's coming along, But
right.
So I'm gonna put the majority of the story in there. But long story short, we get into it at a house party. It's a shootout. 3 individuals get hit. One person got shot in the head, and I end up being a suspect for that shooting. So I end up going back to Montana which I knew was kind of crazy because I'm already on probation anyway out there. So, by this time, a lot of people in Bannon who I hang with or I'm affiliated with, they're knowing I'm going back and forth to Montana, because by this time I had been out in Montana probably about 3.5, 4 years, so I got several cars with Montana plates on it, and I'm coming back to Bannon, flossing, because I was heavily influenced by these pimps too.
Right.
These pimps had diamond rings on every finger and chains, and so I got all that, and
Right.
I'm coming back to Bannon talking major shit, just clowning, like a youngster. And so I say all that to say, so after this shooting happened, half the town knew I was going to Montana, and so they called the police, and of course, so I ended up getting the police pulled me over in Montana. And, but I already got that, I got that mindset, you know what I'm saying? I ain't, I'm gang banging. I ain't going to jail. Not today. During the time that I'm on the run, I'm eventually charged with another murder. And so by the time I am apprehended, I got the shooting at the party that I'm wanted for. And I'm also charged with this other murder. And so, yeah, that's how that went about. When I'm on the run, I'm still selling drugs. I'm still sending drugs out to Montana. I'm sending drugs to my girl out there. And then I had a couple homies who was selling it for me. But now when you're on the run, you're moving around, you living here and there. I'm not stable. And then the bad thing about it for me was I still had the spending habits like I was stable when I was making all the money that I used to make, And so that was financially taxing. And so eventually once they get me, like I say, now I got to go to court and deal, I got to go to court and face the music in California.
Right. So, and what was the situation? I guess it was you got caught in like Denver or something like that. And you had like you said like a fingerprint scanner didn't work, or like you just, you slid off by the skin of your teeth or something like that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Me and my homie, we was out in Denver.
Right.
And, I'm in a car out there with which my Aunt Shirley, rest in peace to her once again. She kept telling me, stay out of that car. I had I had a car with some candy paint on it and some gold rims and stuff,
Right.
And at the time, Denver was wild too. I don't know if you guys are old enough. I know you probably are, but for anybody that's old enough to remember the song that DJ Quick had called Just Like Compton. And at the end of the song, he was saying how Denver want to be like Compton. But basically what he was talking about is how he was basically out there gang banging and all that stuff. So Denver, which I was kind of like in the city of Aurora, which is like a suburb of Denver. But between Denver and Aurora, man, they off the chain out there. They gang banging and they doing all types of wild stuff. And so eventually I get pulled over, and the police asked me and my homeboy, had we ever been shot, or, do we have any tattoos?
Right.
Any visible tattoos? Now, my homie had been shot and got tattoos. And so he lied and told them no. Because now keep in mind, this is my homie who I was also, he was also charged in the shooting with at the party. And
okay.
So neither one of us can carry ID, because if we carry our real ID, of course, we going down. So we both got, we both telling them that we don't have no ID and this and that. And so when they search my homie, do a body check of or whatever, they spot tattoos on him. And so he's, the police say, hey man, I thought you didn't have no tattoos. He tried to take off running. And so they eventually gaffle him up. The police said, well, you're not going to run. I tell him, no, I ain't did nothing, because I'm now in Montana. Your driver's license is your social security number. So I'm using my brother's. I'm telling them that I'm my brother. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm thinking I'm going to be cool. But since he ran, and since I don't have no ID, they gaffle us both up, so they take us down to the station down in Denver, and they fingerprint us and all that. So I'm telling the homie, hey man, yeah, we through, we might as well just go on back and fight, don't fight extradition, just go on back and get this out the way. And, but luckily for me that day, the fingerprint machine was down. And so, they end up letting me out, I stayed in there about an hour. They end up letting me out and stuff. And so my homeboy, he ended up getting out later that night. Since he ran, they charged him with obstruction of justice. Right. But yeah, that was just one of the
man, what was that feeling like, man, when that machine won't working, man? How you felt when that machine won't work?
Hey, look, I was happy as hell. Okay, because I failed to mention that when they first put us in there, they had some white dude up in there. He was raising hell. Oh, that's not me. I'm not him. Whoever he had told, whoever they was saying he was somebody. He had gave him a fake name. So they came back in about 5 minutes and called him by his real name. And then he just started smiling like, oh, okay, yeah, you got me. So that's when I started telling my homie, hey, man, yeah, look, they got us, homie. So, because they had fingerprinted us too. And it took like that to come back on the white dude.
Right.
And so I'm expecting them at any minute to come back and tell us, we lying and shit. But the difference between him and us was he was from Denver.
He was from there, right? Okay.
He was from there, and our fingerprints was going to Montana or whatever. And since we didn't have nothing going on in the city,
right?
Shit didn't get us or whatever. So yeah, like I say, so once they told me I was free to go, oh man, I bounced up out of there. Then them dumb motherfuckers. Hey, can I cuss on here, Spryte?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, yeah. Them dumb motherfuckers had the nerve enough to ask me, did I want to ride back to my car? Hell no, motherfucker, I don't want no ride back to my car. Hey, because I was thinking of when they told me that, right? I'm just thinking of, they giving me a ride because they pulled me over. They pulled me over in Denver and took me once they arrested us, they took us 3 or 4 miles to the station.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're gonna say, hey man, you got that individual in the car? What you bring him back? We got a warrant for his ass. So I'm like, hell no, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Just let me up out of here.
Right.
As soon as they let me out, I walked around the corner and took off running and shit, and hopped on the bus and went back home and stuff. So yeah, hey, I felt happy as all outdoors.
Yeah, I wouldn't have took the ride neither, man. I wouldn't have took the ride neither.
Hey, because when they let me go, right, when they called my name and told me I was free to go, my homeboy, he in the holding tank, he said, hey, well, what about me? He feeling sad as a motherfucker. They told him, well, no, since you ran, we charged you with obstruction of justice.
Right.
He said, well, when did I get out? Then I asked him what was his bail, and they said, it was small, like $250 or some shit or whatever it was, but they said, but due to having so many people, the processing would take a long time.
Right.
So he probably wouldn't be able to get out until 12 midnight, somewhere around there. So we looked at each other. We both thinking by then, them fingerprints gonna come back and your ass gonna be through.
Right.
Unfortunately, he was able to get out too. So yeah, that was just one time I escaped by the skin of my teeth.
Man.
And then another time I was in Portland. They pulled me over, and I got away by the skin of my teeth on that time too.
And that's crazy, man. So how long were you actually on the run before you finally got caught?
I was on the run damn near a year to the day. When you know what? No, matter of fact, I was on the run more than a year because the initial shooting happened in June, and then I got captured July 27th. So yeah, I was on the run like a year and a month.
And that's crazy, man. So what was the ultimate situation? How did you get caught? You know what I'm saying? And how that situation played out.
Well, by that time I had moved back to California, because now keep in mind too, man, I'm on the run, I'm young. I'm thinking that whenever they do catch me, it's over. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I was out there on some crazy stuff, doing a whole bunch of stuff I ain't had no business doing. And so I ended up moving to a city by the name of Fontana. And some type of way the police got a V.E.T.V that I was over there. I believe it was this one dude. My dad he was from Bandy. My car wouldn't start in that one day. So my dad came over there and had this dude with him. I believe he called and V.E.T.V'd me. And so like I say, I'm living in the city of Fontana. The night before, I had just flew back in from Denver, Colorado. I was working on an album, and the dude wanted me to come back and finished a couple songs so we could get the album turned in. And so I come back on a Sunday. I fly in on a Sunday. Monday morning, I'm getting ready to go back to the studio, and I go outside. My girlfriend at the time, she went outside, supposed to be going to the store. I look outside. I see her out there talking to her friend. So I go outside and get in the car with her. We laughing and chilling and clowning and stuff. We drive around, make a drive around the apartment complex to her because I'm just in my boxers for her to bring me back so I can go upstairs. And the police is all over the place. When we drive around the corner, somebody is up on our tail, and then so we hit a left and they up on us again. Back then, the police all had them Fords,
Right.
And they had that one particular sound. And so she's like, damn, these people is close. So when she hit the corner again and they up on us, I said, damn, babe, that's the police. I knew it, because they was in an undercover car. And so, yeah, she ended up pulling over, and they came out of the woodworks, man. They was all over the place, and so that's how I ended up getting captured.
You got captured, man. What were you charged with them? How much time were you facing?
Well, initially I was charged with just those 3 attempted murders, and I was facing life. And then about 6 months into my, while I was locked up, they ended up charging me with the separate murder as well. And so, I was facing on that case, they 25 to life. They were telling me, oh man, we gonna give you life without parole. If we hear of another case we can say that you was definitely involved in, we gonna ask for the death penalty, just all types of stuff, so.
Right. So what was your initial thoughts? You know what I'm saying? When they told you the time you was facing, like, when you heard it, it's a difference with doing things in the streets, right? And then you thinking like, man, I could get locked up. But when that judge when they actually say you looking at a life sentence or 2 life sentences, man, what was that initial thought when you heard them say that?
Well, it kind of shook me a little bit, but at the same time, I'm thinking, well, damn, they don't got too much evidence on me, I'm right. Thinking that, man, I might be all right, because they didn't have no guns, and and I ain't never said this before, but my murder, the murder that I was charged with, he was the guy that was telling on me in the attempted murder. So, I'm thinking, okay, hey man, if I get that dude out the way, they ain't got a witness, you know what I'm saying? And so now I just created more problems for myself, Right. So later on, once they charged me with the once they charged me with the murder, that's when I was really shook. I was like, oh man, because I'm sitting up in court for the attempted murder, and right. I'm thinking that I don't have no witnesses and all this and that. But once I got to going to trial, man, you see all types of people coming out the woodwork, and just that's when I realized, the situation was real,
Right.
And so, yeah, that's when it got ugly.
So you went to trial for the 3 attempted murders first, right?
Yeah, I was found guilty. I was found guilty of that. Well, they found, and it was crazy, right? Because they only found me guilty of the dude who got shot in the head. Because, like I say, 2 other people got shot too. They only found me guilty of the dude who got shot in the head, and they also found me guilty of attempting to shoot at the initial dude who they said the altercation was between. And so, for the dude who got shot in the head, I got 9 years. For the dude who they claimed that I was attempting to shoot and didn't even shoot at all is where I got the life sentence. So I got 9 years plus life. I got 9 years for the individual that was shot in the head and survived. And I got a life sentence for the individual who they claimed that I was attempting to shoot at. So like I say, I ended up with 9 years plus life.
What was your ultimate outcome of that next, the separate murder?
I ended up fighting that for a while too. And then they ended up dropping it down to if I took a deal for 16 years, they dropped it down to a voluntary manslaughter. And so I ended up taking that deal. And so they ended up, they ran the 16 concurrent with the 9 years, but they ran it consecutive to the life. So instead of 9 plus life, basically I ended up with 16 years plus life. And so, yeah, that's how that went.
Okay, and for the people that don't know, man, because I seen you briefly, you spoke on it before, the old California law as far as being eligible for parole, it was what you said after like 7 years,
right? Because so like I say, the 16 years and the life sentence was 2 separate sentences.
Right,
that's consecutive. So I had to serve the 16 first. So at the time I was sentenced, it was under the old California law. So my 16 years was halftime. So I had to serve 8 years on that. And then I would start doing the life sentence. And then after I served 7 years on the life sentence, I was eligible for parole. Because at that time, like I say, the laws were different. So I didn't have, you'll hear of some individuals, they might have 15 years to life or 25 years to life. And,
right.
And in that case, then you have to serve the 25 years and then you're eligible for parole. But under my situation, I just had a flat out life sentence, and so after you do the flat life, then you're eligible for 7. Because like I say, I had 16 plus life. I didn't have 16 to life. So once I served the 16 years, then I had to start serving my flat life sentence. And after and on a flat life, after 7, you are eligible for parole. So yeah, I ended up serving 24 years before I was paroled.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. So what was it like in prison for you? Like when you got in there, man, did you have any connections or did you just, you know what I'm saying, you had to learn on the fly?
I really had to learn on the fly because, like I say, being from a small city, when I hit prison, I didn't have a lot of homeboys. You know, like you have some of these dudes from these larger areas like Compton, L.A., San Diego, Long Beach. Any prison they go to, they're gonna have 15, 20 homies on the line. You know,
Right.
some of these bigger gangs and stuff. But like I say, I got up there, man, and I was, I was small, my goddamn self. I was like 5'9", probably 145, 150 pounds. And then, I'm from a small hood, from a small town. And so, I got up there and didn't really know nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so just by the grace of God, certain individuals took a liking to me. And see, back then it was cooler too. Back then it was more black, black pride, black love, for
Right.
individuals. And so, a couple dudes took me up under the wing. Shout out to one of this good partner by the name of Heron, Big H. Not to be confused with the Heron who was connected to Suge Knight and them. This Heron is from the Grandees, which is a city in Compton. I mean, a neighborhood in Compton. They end up turning the newer neighborhood is called Nutty Block, I believe. But yeah, so Big H was a Crip. And at that time, he had probably been down 15, 16 years, well-respected individual, well-loved, you know what I'm saying? And so he ended up taking me under the wing, moving me into the cell with him and lacing me, And so to also answer your question, especially now, looking back on that, yeah, I was underprepared, you know what I'm saying? From the county jail period. Cause like I say, I didn't encounter a lot of my homeboys, cause someone that you grew up with is going to school you in a way different from a person you may just meet in jail.
Right.
Your homeboy is going to really make sure that you super straight
right.
and know everything you need to know.
So when did you find out prison was serious? What was the wildest thing you seen, like when you got in there where you knew like, hey, this is a different place?
Okay, so like I said, now when we leave the county jail, we go to prison, our first prison, but that's called a reception center, and that's just a prison where they're gonna analyze you and assess you and see what type of housing and security level that you need. So I went to Tehachapi. So while I'm at Tehachapi, I happened to meet a dude, and I ain't said this before. I just normally just give him a false name or whatever. But I will say this: he was from Hoover. I met a dude from Hoover, which is an extremely large gang out from the LA area. So me and this dude, we become cool, and just so happen we catch the chain together. So now they send us from. Now we both going from Tehachapi. They sending us to Salinas Valley Level 4, which is basically the highest level of security prison that you can be in California. And so this individual was 18 years old at the time too. He had a life sentence. And so when we get to the yard, he got a homeboy on the yard, and his homeboy come out there and bring him all type of food and hygiene, toothpaste, things to get situated until his property comes. Because when you first leave in the reception center, you don't have your property. So about maybe maybe like a month or two later, word hits the prison that the dude that then brought this dude all this stuff, and to help him get situated, word has hit the prison that this dude done something in another prison, and now he got to get stabbed. And the dude they picked to stab him was his homie, who I caught the chain with, the one he brought all the stuff out to.
Right.
So that's when I said, "Oh man, this shit is serious." You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I'm from a small town, and so all my homies I'm looking at as brothers. You know what I'm saying? And so just to me to think like, damn, this dude got to stab his homie and all this whole type of stuff. And the cold part about it is, everybody, it seemed like on the yard knew, except for the individual who was going to get stabbed, because how things work in California. Things in California is the prisons is politically separated. The Hispanics, the blacks, the whites, they all stick to their own race so much. I mean, we talk to each other and stuff like that, say how you doing. But as far as hanging out, you hang with your own race. If a problem arises between a black and a white, and either of the races hit each other, it's going to be an all-out race riot. So the procedure and protocol is this: if I get into it with a white or Hispanic, I'll go talk to somebody and let them know the situation. And then if they figure out the Hispanic dude was wrong or the white was wrong, they'll deal with him, and vice versa with the blacks. You don't put your hands on another person from another car. And so, so also when something is getting ready to go on as measure of respect and courtesy. Say if we get ready to do something to a black, we'll let the whites and the Mexicans know. That way, when they see, people over there fighting or whatever, they won't assume or think there's something going on with some of their people and run over there. They'll have a heads up to, hey, we're going to handle our business, just letting y'all know. So, and so by that method right there, that's how everybody seems to know that, whoever got something coming, except for the person who has it coming.
Right.
And so I never forget. So like I say, at this time, I'm in the cell with the dude, Big H. He's a real well-known, respected Crip, and so he told me that the dude who I caught the chain with was getting ready to stab this individual. And so I'm thinking like, damn, man, now what's supposed to happen one day, it don't happen that day. It happens the next day. But I happen to look up and see both these dudes at the water fountain laughing and talking. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is some cold shit. Because like I say, the dude, both of them laughing and giggling, but one dude already know he getting ready to stab the other dude. And so it happened later that day. And that's when I realized that, this is a cold situation. We in the county jail, and I believe it might have been a Friday or Saturday or something like that. But, we want to, at nighttime, we got a TV in there. We want to come out and watch BET and all that old type of stuff. So it's about time for us to come out 5 or 6 o'clock or whatever after we have dinner. We're not being let out for whatever reason. They got different officers that work the pod. And so, after a period of time, dudes is like, we got these little call buttons in there that you can call and get at the officers. And they calling him, asking, hey, what's up, man? When you going to let us out? So, dude ain't saying nothing. So maybe 30, 40 minutes later, it's a black cop. He finally announced, okay, listen, man, because now keep in mind, too, I'm being housed in what's known as the Crip tank. Ain't nothing up in there but Crips, black Crips. If you ain't no Crip, you can't come up in there. Right. So by that being that, it's always a lot of fight. It's a lot of fights and stuff. So he come over to the loudspeaker and he say that, hey, man, listen, I'm getting ready to let y'all out in a minute. When I let y'all out, everybody come out and close your doors, because people would sometimes leave their cells open so they can go back in and fight. Right. He say, look, everybody close the doors. So a few minutes later, he pop us out, but he told us, I'm giving y'all like 2 minutes to close the doors, once I let y'all out. Right. So he let us all out. So then later on, a couple minutes later, it's a door still open. So he announcing, hey, such and such, shut number door this, such and such, shut number door that, whatever. He telling, so now one door in particular, he's saying, hey man, let's just say it's door 32. He's saying, hey man, shut door 32, shut door 32. Now the dude in door 32, he's a youngster. Now he just taking his sweet time. He won't, he's saying, okay, man, I'm getting ready to lock y'all down. So now you got everybody out there like hollering to the dude, like, hey, homie, shut your door, man, shut your door. He getting ready to lock us up. Right. So dude's still just taking his sweet time. So finally the dude, now he's upstairs too. So now finally dude come out of his cell and he still don't shut his door. He looked down and everybody like, yeah, what's up? What's up? Yeah, I did that. So he finally shut his door. Right. So now when he shut his door and he walked down, there was another individual that I knew, he's like, hey, cub, hey, man, cub, you was real disrespectful, Crip. Now I need that. Hey, Tomorow, cub. This is what he telling old boy, basically me and you got to get down. He said, matter of fact, that's what he said, cub, me and you got to get down, Crip, because he felt that, you disrespectful. You leaving you putting everybody in a situation to get locked down. Right. And all you had to do was grab your shit and come out. So when he turned around and started to spin off, the dude he talking to, he fired on him. He dope fiending, like, punching from the back. Right. And so they turn around, they start fighting. So of course, now the police who just told everybody, I don't want to see nobody fighting and all that, he look out, see everybody fighting. So he lock us back up. Program is over for the night. So they come in, they get them two dudes. Now normally, some situations they'll split the two dudes up. But now this particular time, they both come back, maybe about an hour, they both come back up in there. So, the dude who got fired on, he's telling dude, yeah, I'm going to get you in the morning and blah, blah, blah. Right. So long story short, they arrange a fight the next day. Now the dude who didn't want to shut his cell, he's kind of a slender dude. He's about 5'10", about probably 140, 145. The other dude, and he's younger. The other dude probably was maybe about, I don't know, about 5'9", 5'10", but he got some weight on him, about 175, 185, So right. The slender dude really don't want to fight, but his homies is telling him, hey, listen, man, you sucker punched that man from the back. So now you got to go in there and catch that fade. And so now they go in there, they go in the cell to go fight. Now sometimes people are, now in the county jail too, all we got is these jumpsuits. And so sometimes, people to take their jumpsuits off to have more, have more leverage.
Right.
And so the skinny dude, he don't really want to go in there anyway, because he feel that it's going to turn into a wrestling match, and he's going to be at a disadvantage because the dude already got some, size on him. So,
right.
But he make the mistake of going in there. He make the mistake of going up in there in his boxers, and so he throwing some Vaseline or whatever on him because he think the dude gonna be grabbing him, and it'll make him harder to get grabbed. So anyway, they go in there, and all of a sudden you hear, now everybody, when they go in the cell upstairs, they go in the cell, and we had the two cells at the end is big compared to the other cells, and people would go in there to fight. So anyway, they go up in there. You hear them in there fighting and squabbling. It's making all that noise. It's making a whole bunch of noise. Then all of a sudden, it just go quiet. It get quiet as a motherfucker. Quiet.
Right.
It's just real quiet. Then all of a sudden, you hear Tiny Face. Oh, see, I slipped up and said the motherfucker's real name. But anyway, so you hear the motherfucker, you hear somebody hollering, Tiny, right. Tiny. Fuck it, I hadn't said it now. He's screaming for Tiny Face. Tiny Face, Tiny Face. Tiny Face happened to be his other homeboy.
Right.
So now, just so happened, me, Tiny Face, and a couple individuals, we sitting at this bench. Tiny Face, Tiny Face was kind of burnt out too. He was a Crip too. He was kind of burnt out, but he's like, good, that's 1-on-1, cuz that's 1-on-1. So me, two other individuals, we hop up, man. We go up there and say, man, let's see what's going on, man. So when we get up there, the dude who didn't want to shut his door, all of them is laying on the floor. The dude who didn't want to shut his door, though, he's laying on the floor. He's on the bottom. He's on his stomach. The other dude is behind him, kind of got him in a chokehold.
Right.
So now when we come up to the window to see what's going on, and I'm really like the second or third person to hit the window. So matter of fact, when we get to the window, this other cat, he's like, hey, cuz, stall him out. Don't do it like that. Stall him out. And I hear the dude inside saying, the bigger dude saying, hey, cuz, get away from the door, cuz. Let me get my grip on. Y'all, cuz, get away from the door. So basically what he's saying is, y'all get away from the door and let me proceed with what I'm fist to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I look into the cell. Like I say, I see the skinnier dude. He's on the ground with his boxers basically pulled down to his ankle. The other dude is behind him, got him in a chokehold. You know what I'm saying? And so one of the dudes at the door say, no, cuz, stall him out. Don't do cuz like that. Stall him out. So he stops dude from doing this. So now I'm looking up in there, it's coffee all over the ground and shit,
Right.
It's spilled, not coffee beans, but spilled coffee,
Okay.
It's spilled coffee all on the floor. And so, so they come up out of there. Now, to make a long story short, the skinny dude, he mad now. He's trying to sneak up on the other dude and throw some magic shave in his face. We had some magic shave shit that we could put in our hair or whatever. But so anyway, long story short, his homeboys make him leave. His homeboys tell him to get on. So now, maybe a day or two later, I'm sitting with the other dude, the bigger dude, and so I asked him. I say, "Hey, homie, what happened up in there? You really was gonna rape the dude up in there?" He said, "Cuz, I'm telling you, cuz, booty is booty, cuz." He said, "Cuz had a pretty booty." So I asked him. I said, "Well, damn, what was all that coffee on the ground about?" So he told me, he said, "Cuz, when we went up in there, we thought of squabbing, cuz." He said, I choked him. I grabbed him and choked him out. And so when he choked him out, I guess that's when it went quiet. That's what that all was about. He had choked him out.
Right.
So he said, because I wanted him to feel it when I was going up in him, cuz. So then I looked up and seen a cup of coffee, cuz. Then I grabbed the coffee and threw the coffee in his face. He said, cuz, I wanted him to feel it. So I guess when the dude threw the coffee on him to wake him up, that's when he realized what was going on, and that's when he went to screaming and hollering for his homeboy, Man, and so man, dudes ran upstairs and they stopped that from going on. So, but if dude hadn't done that, dude might have would have lost his cakes up in there,
Serving your time, did you get into any major trouble or anything like that? You know what I'm saying?
A little bit, as far as, I got caught up in some riots and stuff and, that type of thing. I had to stab an individual one time, which I'm going to drop that story pretty soon. But, for the amount of time that I've done, man, 24 years, my time was relatively easy compared to most individuals who done that time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I said, I was in 4 or 5 riots, mostly black on black riots, a riot with the whites, a riot with the Asians. We never got into it with the Hispanics, the Serenos, but just regular stuff, fights, that type of stuff,
What's it like being in a riot, man? What type of if you could explain that,
Well, it's man, well, it all depends, right? It's definitely scary, right? But it just all depends on if it's a spontaneous riot, or if it's a planned riot. And what I mean when I say planned, I mean if a situation is brewing. Say I go to chow one day and me and a Hispanic, we have words,
right?
And so it gets back to everybody, and that situation is brewing. You go outside, man, and for the most part in the California prisons, the Hispanics always outnumber the blacks like 3-1. You know what I'm saying? And so, and they operate under the same umbrella. All the Southern Hispanics from Southern California, as well as the Northern Hispanics from Northern California, they're separate factions, but they all operate under one umbrella. As opposed to the blacks, we're so divided, man. You got blacks who, you got Crips who don't get along with other Crips. Of course, then you got the Bloods. Then you got the down south blacks who don't, necessarily. We're not united with the up north blacks, so It's just so much division, And so in situations like that, it makes everything worse because you'll have literally all the Hispanics together in one area, huddled up to see what's going to go on. So 300 or 400, and you might have maybe 50 blacks over here, 30 blacks over there, 15 over here. So in the event it jumps off, we're less organized. And so those are the more scarier situations than opposed to say, like, maybe you just go in the chow, a black and a white get into it. They start fighting right there. And the riot is unplanned. But either or, both the situations is scary because it's individuals from everywhere, and people got knives up in there. And the main thing that's always in my mind, even though it's not always possible, sometimes is do not fall down. You know what I'm saying? Because in the event you fall down, you can get kicked, stomped, people is running. It's the chances are slim that anyone is going to see you and come help you because it's so much going on.
Right.
It's just so much going on. And then, depending on where you at, if like say you're in the kitchen and a riot jumps off, the first thing the police gonna do, they supposed to get up out of there. It might be 4 or 5 of them up in there. They running up out of there and locking the door until they can go get more people to help quell the situation.
Right.
So you might be up in there fighting 30 minutes, people throwing trays, knives, all types of stuff up in there, And so it's definitely something to you definitely have to have a healthy respect for it. You know what I'm saying? And then in the event you out on the yard and you fighting, the police have live ammunition out there. They got mini 14s in the tower that shoot 223 bullets. And so, after a minute, they got these guns called block guns, and they shoot these wooden blocks. But they gonna shoot that a couple times, and after a minute, they gonna go to shooting the live rounds. Especially if they see an individual getting, stabbed or somebody getting kicked and pummeled. And so, they'll shoot for a minute, and then everybody will stop. Everybody will stop and get down or squat down. In 30 seconds or a minute, everybody will hop back up and start fighting again. So it's definitely dangerous. It's dangerous.
Right. So when did you find out you were coming home, and how was it? How hard was it to get approved coming home? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it was extremely hard to get approved initially because, like I say, even though I was sentenced to 16 years with the possibility of a plus life, with the possibility of parole, the governors were systematically denying anybody that had a life sentence and was there for murder. So in the span of maybe, when I got to prison the last, 20, 25 years, there had only been, out of the thousands and thousands of people that have life and was going to the parole board, there had only been like 3 or 4 people who were actually granted parole. So like I said, even though I had life with parole, that it was essentially a death sentence, but slowly but surely, You had, individuals who might have been serving, like I say, a flat out life and had been in there 30, 35 years. Some of these individuals were filing lawsuits in the courts, and some of these lawsuits were starting to be ruled on in their favor, which is when it opens up the door for one lifer, it opens up the door for the next life. And then also see in the California prisons, only those with life have to go to the parole board. So if you have a determinate sentence, which like if you have 10 years, that's a determinate sentence. If you have 5 years, because they know when you're getting out. So when you don't know, when you have life is the only time you have to go to the parole board. And so the parole boards were extremely prejudiced as well. A lot of the parole boards are filled by ex-officers, correctional officers, ex-police, sheriffs and stuff. So they have a disposition to not see an individual get parole anyway. So the parole board was extremely unfair. But maybe in the early or mid 2000, 2005, 2006, they slowly started revamping the parole board, the parole policies, eliminating commissioners who had a extremely high number of denials and stuff like that. So maybe around 2008, 2009, they started letting out more lifers than normal. And so that's when I started thinking, okay, well, you know what? I possibly have a chance of paroling. And so, I started being more mindful, and because they also want us, in order to be paroled, we gotta stay out of trouble. We gotta take self-help groups and get some work certificate, some work certifications to show that we're work eligible. We can we can be gainfully employed when we hit the street. And so like I say, I slowly but surely I see all these things coming into play. And so once I went to the parole board, I was denied, but then when I came back the next time, I was granted my parole, which was a blessing, because I've seen individuals go to the parole board, 15, 20 times and get denied, So I went in 2018 and I was found suitable. That's what they call it. They find you suitable for parole. Then you have to go through a process to where it has to be reviewed, and then the governor can look over it. And then, because the governor, when the parole commissioners found you suitable, the governor can look over it and say, no, I disagree with these findings. And he can take your parole suitability, and then you're not coming home. You got to go through the process all over in another year and a half or year or two. So, it's definitely a stressful environment and procedure, and so. Yeah, so I finally learned I was coming home, and it was a blessing.
So coming home, man, you know what I'm saying? Being free, being able to do whatever you want to do after serving those 24 years in prison, man. What was your first month of freedom like? Your first month? What was that like?
To me, it was just a blessing. It was just a blessing to be out and also, when you're a lifer, they don't really want you to come straight home. They want you to go to what's known as a halfway house, so you can get. Well, they call it a transitional house, but it's basically like a halfway house. So they can help you get reacclimated with being free, help you get your driver's license, any type of, government papers you may need and stuff like that. But for me, it was just a blessing just to be out. It was slightly disappointing that I couldn't immediately be with my family. But, the transitional house that I happened to go to, it was real cool and laid back. And so, like I say, it was a blessing, man. It was a blessing for me just to be out, to be free, be able to do what I wanted to do for the most part. I could go home on the weekends and visit with my family. And so it was definitely worth it.
What I understand, when you came home, or I don't know if it was when you came home or now, did you home, or you do things in the community, or like you do things like give back to the community or something like that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that's one good thing about being from a small town, everybody still knows everybody, not so much now as it was back then, because you have new people moving in and all that type of stuff. But yeah, one of the first things I noticed when I was free is there is an extremely large homeless population everywhere,
Right.
And so one of the things I do, I slide through the homeless camp, and I went and filmed a video over there. I rap, so I filmed a video over there. But I'll slide through there, drop off pizzas, go through there, drop off clothing, and just that type of stuff. I see individuals who I grew up with. Some of them is unfortunately over there. So I might go through there, pass out a few dollars or whatever. Just, just trying to do my part in helping a community that at one point in time I was tearing down by, the selling of drugs, the gang banging and stuff like that,
Right. So for the kids, man, that may see this or operating on the same frequency that you once were, what message do you have for them?
You know what? And sometimes people will ask me that, man. And to be honest, Spryte, that's a hard question because I know as an individual who was once out there in that life, sometimes what you say to an individual is not going to matter, especially when you're not accessible to that individual. You know what I'm saying? When that person is not in your day-to-day life. And so, man, it's just hard. I'm just want to tell you youngsters, man, that it's not worth it. And you eventually gonna mind somebody, man. If you're not gonna listen to the people and your parents and the people around you, once you get up in them walls, you gonna mind. And you don't have to do 24 years to not make it, not come home. Man, them penitentiaries is real. Everybody's up in there is angry. You have a lot of individuals who don't know how to communicate, and they resort through violence. They're mad, they're away from home, or you may have a dude who's been cool, for 2-3 years in a row. He happened to call home one day, and Deshaun is over there fucking his broad. So now he just mad, and he don't know how to react. So he first dude that say something to him, which he would normally laugh off, now he's ready to fight and kill. And it just gets rough up in there, man. So I would say you guys just cherish your freedom and think about what you're doing, because really, if you're running around out there in them streets, the lucky ones get to make it to prison. Some of them don't even get to make it to prison. And that's just the sad reality of it, man. When I was in prison, I probably had 6 or 7 good friends pass away, like the individual who I was in Denver with, and he had to stay in jail and get let out later on. He ended up getting shot and killed at a house party himself. My friend Scotty Ware, who I mentioned, he ended up getting killed. I had several homies. My homie G Ride, he ended up getting killed. His younger brother C Ride got killed 2 or 3 years later than he did, than him. All on the streets. All these people was on the streets. And I can just name literally probably for at least 15, 20 minutes, all the individuals who I was locked up with who ended up getting out and losing their life or coming back with more time than me. So it's definitely, you guys got to pay attention, man. You got to cherish your freedom and, realize that them streets are not where it's at.
Yeah, man, that's a good message, man. We get ready to slide out of here in a second, man. But before we get out of here, do you have anything you want to promote, or, how can the people find you or contact you?
Most definitely, man. First and foremost, check out my YouTube channel. That's 16DA Life. That's 16 to Life. Like I say, I got some extremely funny prison stories on there. I got some funny stories about when I was in Montana. And I also rap, man. Don't get it twisted. Like I say, man, I'm definitely as good as your favorite rapper. Don't just be sure to go check me out. Go hit my YouTube, go to my playlist and look up under Gas Station. And I got several raps up there. You can also, I got a song called Never Gave Me Therapy. It's on all major platforms. So definitely be sure to check that out. Then I got a website called 16thelife.com. That's 16DALIFE.com. You can purchase my merchandise on there, my music. I got some CDs, some mixtapes on there, some Yard Down hoodies. I don't know if y'all see this. I'm rocking my Yard Down hoodie right here. I got some Fox t-shirts on there, some 16 to Life t-shirts, a whole lot of things. So definitely just go be sure to check that out. And also check my Instagram out as well, 16 to Life.
Hey, man, I want to give a shout out to Banky Pound, man, because Banky Pound standing behind your lyrics, man. He's standing behind your bars. He said you spit bars with the best of them.
Hey, I definitely, you know what I'm saying? I do like to be modest and humble, but that's one situation I cannot be modest and humble about. I definitely get busy on that mic, man. And, check me out, man. Check me out. Shout out to Banky Pound. Shout out to you, Spryte, for having me here. Shout out to Cece. I want to give another shout out, if I can, to another individual by the name of St. Laz, man. This dude tells good prison stories. He's up out of New York. And he got some bomb prison stories, especially the ones I prefer when he was talking about when he was locked up in Rikers. He was on Rikers Island, man. And so, He's another good dude, man. Y'all can check out. And so them is the cats who I rock with the most. I look at a little bit of everybody, but I definitely rock with those cats.
Right. Yeah. You just put me on. I'm gonna check him. I'm gonna check him out when we get off here.
That's St. Laz. Let me give y'all the spelling on that. That's ST.LAZ, St. Laz, man. And like I say, be sure to check out them stories when he was talking about he was in Rikers Island and all that type of stuff. His whole page is good, but those are the stories that really give me, insight on what it's like in that prison, because that's a prison that I've heard people mention a lot.
Right. Look, so the way I end my show, man, I always end with like a inspirational quote or a saying, you know what I'm saying? For someone in prison right now, or for someone going through a hard time, what message do you have that could possibly uplift them or even save a life?
Let me think real quick, man. And what I'll say is, I'm gonna say this, man. As long as you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. And so basically the message in that is, at some point in time, man, we got to change. We got to change sometimes. If we've been running around all our lives doing things that's not positive or things that's criminal, and you've been going back and forth to jail, if you've been going back and forth to jail for selling drugs, if you get out again and continue to go sell drugs, you eventually getting ready to go back to prison. If you've been breaking the law all your life and you've been going back and forth to jail and you get out and break it again, you going back, eventually you're going back. So, it's time, man, that we take control of our lives, be positive, take control of our thinking, and just try to do something different, man, because wasting our lives in prison or doing things that can lead us to prison or to the grave is definitely uncool, man. It's sad to say that I think it's getting to the point that we as a people, and for a long time, we have been promoting a lot of negativity and a lot of making a lot of negative things seem like they're cool to do. So I think we got to get back. We got to get back to, where we love each other as Black people, man. We love each other as Black people, and we want the best, for each other, not necessarily the worst. We still can rap, we still can make hip hop music, but we got to know when to draw the line. You know what I'm saying? We got to be able to make a song and leave it at a song instead of letting it spill over into the streets, because we are definitely killing off the culture, and it's just so much going on that I think that, goddamn it, it's time to say enough, man. Us as Black people, we need to start coming together, Right.
I agree, man. I fully agree, man. And once again, man, I'd like to, say thank you. And I greatly appreciate you for coming on the show, man. I greatly appreciate you.
Hey, well, Spryte, thank you for having me. And like I say, any platform, it can help in more ways than one. I can potentially reach some people. I can potentially get more followers. Somebody may see me on your platform and may want me on their platform that may lead to something else. And so, like I say, I just sincerely thank you for reaching out to me and inviting me on here, man, because, there was a time when I don't believe anybody was interested in listening to me. So even if just one person, 5 people, 10 people, it just, to me, coming from where I came from, it's humbling, man. So I deeply, deeply appreciate you inviting me on your platform.
Man, we're going to do it again, definitely, man. And with that being said, man, y'all know my saying, yesterday wins nor losses count. If you woke up blessed to be alive, keep pushing forward and keep striving for a greater tomorrow, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm your dog, Hollywood Spryte, a.k.a. Brilliance. This is V.E.T.V, man, and that's 16 to life, and we signing out.
All right. Hey, thank you for having me, man. Have a blessed day, and I wish your platform much success.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Much love, homie, man. We're going to get there. We're going to build, man. I'm going to chop it up with you a little later.
Okay. One love.
Hey! Now you know. It's the King Kong of Tomorow.
V.E.T.V.
Veracity Exchange Television.
Out here don't respect shit until you put the barrel in their ear and let the text spit. I just might catch a case on my next hit, remove their whole face on some special effect shit. So show respect, Drake, or I'ma have a flashback. Digging through the dresser like fuck it, where my mask at? The mash back with the banger and damage shit, and say fuck everything I learned in anger management.